Imagine being the top quarterback in all of high school football, with scholarship offers pouring in from every college powerhouse in the nation, and a straight shot to the NFL almost guaranteed. But instead of getting ready to go play for the college you've always dreamed of, you're packing your bags headed to basic training. Well, my name is Brian Cunningham, and unfortunately, this is my story. Growing up with a father in the military, I was always on the move. Texas, California, Kentucky, New Hampshire. I lived all over the country. But for the past 4 years, I've been right here in Wichita, Kansas. My dad joined the Army fresh out of high school, but he wasn't the first. My grandfather was a Marine and fought overseas. My great-grandfather also was a Marine and served in World War II. That's 3 different generations of service. So yeah, the military runs deep in my blood. My pops met my mom when he was stationed in California. She worked at some coffee shop near the base. They got married not long after, moved from state to state, base to base, and then somewhere between deployments, I was born. Growing up in a military household can seem like a prison at times, but luckily, since I'm the only child, I got away with a lot more than I probably should have. But even still, that didn't mean things were easy. Everything had rules. When to wake up, how to make my bed, how to speak, how to sit at the dinner table. My parents didn't play around. Respect, discipline, and order weren't just expected, they were demanded. I remember getting in trouble for leaving my shoes by the door, or for forgetting to say yes sir or yes ma'am. Even something as simple as being 5 minutes late felt like I had just committed a felony. That kind of structure can either make you or break you, but for me, it gave me something else, a drive, a hunger to find a place where I could just be me. And well, that place turned out to be the football field. The first time I strapped on my pads, I was nervous as hell. I didn't know what I was doing, and honestly, I was pretty scared. But as soon as the whistle blew and I made contact, something just clicked. All that built up pressure, all that discipline, it just came pouring out of me. It was the first time I ever felt free. Football didn't just become a sport for me, it was an escape. A place where all that structure I grew up with turned into a strength. And I've been in love with the game ever since. I didn't start playing quarterback until my freshman year when we moved here to Kansas. Bro, I was trash. I tried to model my game after Lamar Jackson, juking and jumping over defenders. But I quickly realized that me and Lamar don't have the same badges. I was out there getting cooked. Credit to my pops, he hired a quarterback coach and I worked with him all summer to get my game right. I was able to improve my throwing mechanics, my timing, my footwork. By the time my junior year came, I was a totally different player. I ended up transferring schools right before the season. That fresh start was all I needed. For the next 2 years, I completely took over high school football, racking up all types of awards along the way. Kansas Player of the Year, 2-time Gatorade Player of the Year, and of course, 2-time state champion. But I think the biggest award of them all was being invited to play in the U.S. Army All-American game. That game really meant a lot to me, and it was a huge deal for my family. Almost everybody flew out to watch me play, and it was really a special moment. Now, of course, colleges from all over the country started reaching out, and it was time for me to go on a few visits. But unfortunately, that's when all my problems started. But Pops, I got offers from all the top programs. Georgia, Bama, USC. I mean, these are once in a lifetime opportunities. I can go pro, make some NIL money, change everything.
The only school you going to is West Point. Every man in this family has served. The Army is where you belong, and that's where you're going to be. Besides, they have a team there just as good as Bama and USC.
Pops, I respect the tradition, but I just want to build something different. Create my own path. And besides, the Army team is not on the same level as those other Power 5 schools. Don't no scouts go there looking for recruits.
Son, I'm not listening to nothing you're talking about right now. You knew the plan was for you to go to the military before you even started playing football. We've already had this conversation.
Pops, I know we've already had this conversation, but I'm just trying to get you to see.
Enough, goddammit! I don't want to hear shit else about it. You're going to the military and you're going to wear the uniform like all the other men in this family did. Now get the hell out of my face before I get upset.
That interaction was an example of what me and my dad's relationship has always been. As a matter of fact, I wouldn't even call it a relationship. It's more like a dictatorship. Whatever he says goes, and my thoughts and opinions just don't matter. I've spent the last 18 years of my life being told what to do and when to do it. Now he's forcing me to go to the military to be controlled for 4 more years. Quite honestly, I just don't think it's fair. After the football season was over, I knew I only had a few more months of high school left. So all that really meant to me was I only had a few more months left before I lost the rest of the little bit of freedom I had. so I went full rebellion. I was barely at school anymore, and if I was, I definitely wasn't paying attention. I was always roaming the halls or in some female's face trying to get on. I mean, I had all my credits, so it really didn't matter. Plus, I've also had perfect attendance since I was a freshman. But this year, nah, I was making sure that didn't happen. Every rule my parents had for me at the crib, I started breaking on purpose. Staying out past my curfew, not doing my chores, talking back, really just anything to piss them off. Well, this led to me and my mom's butting heads. She's always around the house, so of course, she was the first to notice my new behavior. Once my pops found out, things got a little bit out of hand and I ended up getting kicked out the crib. I went to stay at my homie Casey's house. We played on a team together, and honestly, he was my first friend I met when I moved here. Not only that, but his parents is cool as hell. That 2 weeks I spent in his house felt like vacation. All we did was kick it and play the game. Believe it or not, up until that point, I had never smoked before. But Casey, on the other hand, man, that's all he did. Every single night, we get like 2 or 3 different females and hotbox in my car. I swear, it looked like a damn gas chamber in there by the time we were done. Then after that, we go up to Top Golf and hang out there until they kicked us out. Every night ended the same. Me and Casey sneaking 2 girls back into his parents' crib so we could do a little bit of homework. Now, I know to most of y'all this may not seem like much, but coming from the strict household that I grew up in, I never experienced that type of freedom. Unfortunately, my vacation didn't last very long. I think my pops probably sensed that I was having fun and decided to come ruin it. He made me move back home and I've been here miserable ever since. We never even talked about what happened. I mean, everything just went back to normal, honestly. Anyways, National Signing Day came and man, if I'm being honest, bro, I wasn't even excited. I felt like I was being forced to sign my life away or something. But of course, I played it cool and put on a smile for the camera. I ended up going viral on social media when I made my announcement. Yeah, I guess not many 5-stars commit to go play for the Army, so it was kind of a big deal. But anyways, now it's official. I'll be headed off to basic training next week. If I'm being real, I'm a little bit nervous and honestly, I really don't even know what to expect. The moment I stepped off that bus, I knew everything was about to change. No more cameras, no more crowds, no more freedom. It wasn't a football camp. Nah, it was basic training. The first thing they did was take us to the barracks to show us where we'd be sleeping at. It was basically just a big ass room with hella beds in it. I've never not had my own room, so I knew for a fact that would be something I couldn't get used to. Next, they threw me in a barber chair. Now, as soon as I sat down, I told them exactly how I wanted my cut. I asked for a simple bald fade, not too much off the top, but his old ass cut me completely bald. Bro, I was overly pissed. After that, they took us over to the chow hall and fed us lunch. I'm not gonna lie, bro, it was actually pretty good. That long bus ride had me starving, so I basically ate everything on my plate. But look, honestly, that was really the end of day one. I remember laying in my bed that first night thinking, like, what did I get myself into? I mean, I could have easily been in Bama or LSU getting treated like a king. But instead, there I was laying on a stiff-ass mattress in a room with like 30 other dudes. I felt like I had officially hit rock bottom. But little did I know, things were about to get 20 times worse. Every day for the next 6 weeks, I had my mental and physical limits tested. They say the training is to instill discipline and to develop leadership skills, but I swear, it felt like they was trying to kill me. Yeah, you laughing, but I'm being dead serious. All me being a 5-star recruit did was put a huge target on my back. It felt like I became the drill sergeant's main focus all of basic training. Finally, graduation came. I had officially finished training. That was definitely the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. Once I put my uniform on, I just stood in the mirror staring at myself for like an hour. I couldn't believe I was able to do it. After the ceremony was over, me and my family all went out to dinner. My aunts, uncles, cousins, yeah, everybody was there, so it was a vibe. But right before the food came out, my pops decided to stand up and make a toast.
Son, I know joining the Army wasn't exactly what you dreamed of, but you stepped up. You honored our family's tradition with strength, discipline, and heart. You didn't just go through basic, you conquered it. And now, with that behind you, it's time for the fun part. Leading the Army football team to a championship. We believe in you every step of the way, on and off the field. To courage, to tradition, and to chasing greatness, cheers.
I only had about a week or so to rest before school and football training started, so I had to lock in. I decided to major in sports management. You know, since I'm going to the league, I'm sure that knowledge will be useful in the long run. Being that I'm a student athlete, I no longer had to stay in the dorms. I moved into a small 2-bedroom apartment on base. I mean, it's pretty cool. My roommate is my dog Christian. He's actually the punter on the team. But yeah, man, I finally got my computer and my PS5 shipped back from the crib. I was so excited to use it when it got here, but I ain't never really had the time. My whole day is spent either working, going to school, or playing football. By the time I'm done with all that, man, it'd be time for bed. If I'm being real, so far my life in the military has been miserable. I mean, yeah, I've developed incredible discipline and a work ethic, but really, that's about it. I mean, I feel like I'm missing out on so much by being here. And not only that, military athletes aren't eligible for NIL deals. I know had I went to a Power 5 school, I could at least gotten 2 or 3 million. I haven't spoke to my parents about it yet, but depending on how this season goes, I'm gonna probably jump into the transfer portal. When I first got here, I was clearly the favorite to start at quarterback, but here it's all about paying your dues. So instead of just giving me the keys to the offense, they decided to make it a competition for the number 1 spot. That put a battery in my back. I went into overdrive. I spent all of my free time in the film room studying. I knew the defensive schemes would be a lot more complex than what I was used to in high school, so I wanted to make sure I was prepared. Once we hit the practice field, bro, it wasn't even close. I totally outplayed Bryson and easily won the starting spot. But as I mentioned before, paying your dues, well, even though I had won the starting job fair and square, they were still gonna allow Bryson to start the first game. Now, when coach first pulled me into the office and told me, I was pissed. But after a while, man, I really didn't even care. Especially since the first game is just an exhibition game versus the FCS school. So now I'm finally getting my first start on the road versus FAU. My goal coming into this season is to lead the country in completion percentage and of course win some games. Not only that, but I also want to build up a buzz surrounding my name, so that way if I decide to hit the transfer portal at the end of the season, I'll have plenty of options. I remember not long ago I said basic training was the hardest thing I've ever had to do. But the truth is, waking up every day knowing you're somewhere you don't want to be, that's a different type of struggle. I completely balled out last season, led the team to the national rankings, media coverage all across the country. I even went viral on social media. But none of that changes the fact that I still feel stuck, trapped between discipline and desire. I mean, don't get me wrong, the Army has definitely been good to me, but I also feel like I'm in a cage. My success last season caught a lot of people by surprise. Many analysts and sports writers didn't think that I'd be able to lead the team being only a freshman. But not only did I lead us to a conference championship game, but I also was selected as a freshman All-American. We ended up taking a trip to Frisco, Texas, where we played Texas State in the Scooters Coffee Bowl game. I went out there and put on a passing clinic, and of course, we were able to pick up the victory. At the end of the season, we had a few weeks off from football, school, and, military duties, so I decided to fly back home to Kansas. I really wanted to go on vacation out the country or, something like that, but honestly, I was broke as hell. Anyways, it was cool being back at the crib, just chilling with the family. We didn't do too much, just went out to dinner a few times and hung around the house. But while I was there, I did end up linking with my dog Casey for a quick session, just like old times.
Dude, you're really like a superstar, bro. How does that shit feel?
Man, bro, I'm trying to tell you, it doesn't feel like that. The only time I really feel like I'm the man or, have emotion is when I get on social media. Other than that, they treat me just like another cadet walking around campus. I'm telling you, bro, the military teaches you there's no I in team, and they really believe that shit.
So, what's your everyday like? Are the parties crazy? Come on, fuck, man, give me some details.
Bro, I literally wake up, go to class, go to weights, go to practice, then go home. Every so often there's a party, but that shit get old quick. Besides, most of the time it's a sausage fest. The females don't want to be around them aggressive, drunk-ass soldiers with no game.
Damn, dude. It sounds pretty fucking miserable, man.
Exactly. While I was at the airport waiting to catch my flight back to base, I was scrolling on social media and got instantly depressed. Everybody's life looks so lit. All these other athletes is really having a way out here. Hellcats and Mercedes, iced out chains, Rolexes, vacations. And there I was, sitting on that dirty ass floor, waiting to board my 5-hour economy flight back to base. It was right then and there that I decided I was hitting the transfer portal. As soon as I got back to the crib, I immediately started plotting. I found out that the transfer portal rules for athletes in the military are a bit different. See, we're only allowed to transfer up until the end of our sophomore year. After that, we're required to serve the remainder of our contract in the military, which could be up to like 5 years. I haven't told anybody that I'm even thinking about transferring, so I ask that you don't tell anyone either. But what I do need from you is to comment down below what schools you think I should reach out to at the end of the season. Now, there's still a lot of work that needs to be done. I still got my whole entire sophomore season ahead of me. So if I'm going to keep my stock high, I got to go out here and ball out. And hopefully once it's all said and done, there will be a multi-million-dollar NIL check waiting for me at the end. After having an amazing regular season and finishing at the top of the American Conference with a 12-0 record and taking home the conference championship, we found ourselves in the Cotton Bowl taking on the USC Trojans. Now, this was the team's first time playing against a real Power 5 program. So even though we were ranked higher than them, we were still the underdogs. Bro, listen, we went out there and did our thing. We literally played one of the best games of our entire season. We completely dominated the Trojans and ended up picking up the bowl game victory. Now our next game, it would be a little bit different. We were matched up against Clemson in the Fiesta Bowl, and unfortunately things definitely didn't go according to plan. Now, if I'm being honest, I feel like we beat ourselves. We had several costly turnovers. Now, we did have a few good moments, but all in all, it definitely wasn't our best performance, and Clemson was able to take home the victory, officially putting an end to our championship dreams. Over the course of last season, we became known as America's team. It seemed like the whole country was rooting for us to win, and yours truly was at the forefront of all the hype. Well, after that tough loss in the playoffs, the public was dying to know my story. You know, they just wanted to know more about me and where I come from. So I ended up doing a one-on-one sit-down with ESPN.
Okay, so let me ask you this. What was it about the Army that made you come here? As a 5-star recruit coming out of high school, I'm sure you had plenty of offers from top programs and a lot of NIL money on the table. Why pass all of that up to play here at West Point?
Wow. Yeah, that's a great question, but if I'm being honest, coming to school here was actually the plan well before I started playing football. Every man in my family has served in the military, so it's really an honor to be able to carry on that tradition.
That's powerful, Brian. It's clear that this is about more than just football for you, so I have to ask, what do you hope to accomplish during your time here both on and off the field?
Honestly, I want to leave a legacy of discipline, leadership, and accountability. Also, of course, I want to bring a championship to this program. Now, off the field, I want to grow into the kind of leader that my family can be proud of. You know, because one day football is going to end, but the kind of man that I become will last forever. After that interview with ESPN aired, my popularity skyrocketed. It was the first time the world had heard my story on a national stage. People from all over were surprised how selfless I was for passing up all that NIL money just to serve my country. I quite literally became an American Idol, but little did they know, behind the scenes, I was already meeting with coaches from major Power 5 schools and working on my transfer papers. These schools were offering serious NIL packages that would not only change my life, but my family's future forever. The public didn't know it yet, but my next chapter wasn't about sacrifice. Nah, it was about taking advantage of all the opportunities I had once turned down. Now that my mind was set on entering the transfer portal, the only thing left to do was break the news to my parents. Now initially, I thought about just telling them over the phone or, maybe calling them on FaceTime, but I knew that would make things much worse. So I just decided to catch a flight back home and break the news in person. I'm not sure if mom told you already, but I signed my release papers. I'm leaving the service.
Release papers? You quitting just like that?
Come on now, Pops. I'm not quitting. I gave it time, I served, but I'm not meant to live in somebody else's shadow anymore. It's just not what I want.
You know what, Brian? I can't even say I'm surprised.
Listen, Pops, I knew you would be upset, but all I'm doing right now is what's right
I'm not upset. I'm hurt. You're breaking this family. You're turning your back on generations of men who bled for that flag.
No, I am not. I'm just choosing not to bleed for your legacy. I want to build my own.
You think you're a man now, huh? Well, let me tell you, a real man finishes what he starts. A real man doesn't quit when shit gets tough. Brian, you're not a real man. You're just a little boy running from duty.
I figured my pops would be upset about my decision to leave the Army. I mean, that was expected. But what I wasn't expecting was for him to actually be hurt. Honestly, seeing all the disappointment and shame he had for me ripped me apart. I spent the entire flight back to base not only questioning myself, but also my decision. The LSU Tigers. Man, I love that program since I was a kid. It's just something about that purple and gold. But look, my decision came down to two teams, either the Tigers or Ole Miss. But listen, bro, the Tigers came with an NIL package that I couldn't refuse. So I made it official and signed my name on the dotted line. When I first got to campus, I had the mindset that I was gonna be focused and locked in, but after about 2 hours, all that went out the window. That was my first time experiencing true freedom, and I took total advantage of it. Parties, concerts, sex, drugs, alcohol, man, you name it, I was involved. I didn't go to class for at least the first 2 weeks of school, and I damn sure wasn't doing no studying. All that discipline I had as a child and while I was in the military was gone. Well, I mean, of course, that was just until football training started. Then it was time to lock in. I'll be real, when I first got to camp, I was completely out of shape, and I could tell that the coaches were disappointed, but it didn't take me long to shake back. The strength and conditioning here is extremely easy, especially compared to what they had us doing in the Army. Now the football aspect, yeah, that's totally different. I swear we worked on the same exact concepts over and over and over and over and over and over and over until it was completely impossible for us to make a mistake. Now I can see why this program has had the success it's had, because perfection is the standard. Coming into the season, the team wasn't ranked inside the top 25, and that's mainly because their record last season was 7-6. So we'll basically be starting at the bottom of the conference, but I can promise you we won't be there for long. Hey man, listen, my whole life just fell apart. I was chilling at the crib on the game when I got this text from my academic advisor. Then immediately after that, I got a call from the team's head of player personnel telling me to meet him at my coach's office, only to find out I've been suspended for the next 2 games and I'm not allowed to practice or travel with the team. Now this couldn't have happened at a worse time because our next game is against our rivals Alabama, and I just cracked the top 5 in the Heisman race. Brittany Myers. Yeah, I'm certain this is who set me up. We met at a party like my second week of being here on campus. After the party, we hooked up, and then a few more times after that. Look, a lot went on between us, and I'm not gonna get into it all right now, but I promise you, this situation is a whole lot deeper than it may seem. But just be patient with me. I promise I'm gonna fill y'all in on everything that happened, but right now, I gotta focus on getting back on the field. I spent the 2 weeks I was suspended getting high, working out, and watching film. Yeah, of course, I know I probably shouldn't be smoking, but growing up in a military household, I had to always be perfect or suffer the consequences. It was the same way while I was in the Army, and quite honestly, it's the same way playing quarterback. Well, that constant fear of failure and the need to be perfect has led to me having crazy anxiety, and the weed is really the only thing that seems to cure it. Anyways, I was finally able to rejoin the team. Luckily, while I was suspended, they were able to stay undefeated. I was given my starting spot back, but the coaches made it clear that I was on a very short leash. Look, I talked all that shit about wanting to serve my country and not caring about the NIL money in that ESPN interview, and the whole world loved me for it. Then, immediately after, I transferred here to LSU for millions, and everyone turned against me. Well, now with me getting suspended for this situation, I just became public enemy number 1. I can't afford any more mistakes on or off the field. I have to be perfect. We had just won the SEC championship with a huge win over Alabama. Next, we were set to take on Oklahoma in the first round of the college football playoffs. I was locked in. I was overly focused and ready to play. But a week before we were set to leave for the Orange Bowl in Miami, the news broke online. Once again, I got a call from the head of player personnel telling me to get to the coach's office immediately. But this time, it was a lot different. When I got to the office, he and the head coach were there, but also several detectives as well. I honestly had no idea what the hell was going on, but I would soon find out that my playing days at LSU were over, and I was facing criminal charges. Remember I mentioned Brittany Myers? Well, I think now it's time I go ahead and tell you a little bit more about her. Like I said, we met when I first got to campus and we instantly started vibing. She was cool as hell, and she was fun to be around, but that's just it. She was a fun time, nothing more than that. Well, apparently in her head, we were something more. And well, yeah, things got extremely complicated. Look, I'm gonna be honest, me and Brittany hooked up a few times. Well, actually it was a lot more than a few times, but she did a lot for me. She was doing my laundry at one point. She'd come over at the beginning of the week and cook a few meals for me, because I was always eating out. And she even started doing my homework. But I was paying her for everything though. Well, not with money, but you know what I mean. Anyways, look, I quickly became the big man on campus. Everybody knew me and everybody wanted a piece of me. Well, I'm man enough to admit that maybe I let the clout go to my head, and as a result, I started treating Brittany like shit. Not only that, but I also got into a relationship with Sammy. Well, one day Brittany popped up at the crib unannounced while Sammy was there. And yeah, it went all bad. I mean, the police ended up getting called, and I basically told them like Brittany had no business being there. Well, of course, she felt betrayed. I mean, she felt like I cheated on her with Sammy, and she was upset that I didn't have her back when the police came. Well, after that incident, we literally never spoke again. Well, fast forward to week 3 of the season, that's when Brittany went out for revenge. She went and told my professor that she was the one that was doing the majority of my homework, and she took all my online tests. Remember, that's what led to me being suspended those 2 weeks. Well, apparently that wasn't enough, because now, not only is she saying that I assaulted her, but she also leaked several pictures and videos online of me smoking weed. I was able to prove her assault allegations were completely false. I mean, the date that she said it happened, I wasn't even in the state of Louisiana. The team had to stay an extra night in Mississippi after the game because of the weather. Now, the pictures and the videos, that was a whole nother story. I guess I probably could have said it was AI, but I've never really been a type to lie. But look, between the cheating on the test, the assault allegations, and the weed, the coaches felt I had become a distraction and an embarrassment to the program. I took full responsibility for my actions, and in the end, I was dismissed from the team. Sammy and I packed up a rental with all my stuff and hit the road. My face was all over the news and my name was in the headlines, especially there in Louisiana, so I didn't even try to go to the airport. Instead, we drove 11 hours back here to Wichita. As soon as we got here, me and my pops got into a big ass argument. Apparently, since Sammy and I aren't married, he nor my mom wanted her staying in their house. I felt like they was just being extremely extra, but I mean, it is their house, so I just got us a room downtown at the Ambassador. Me and Sammy hung out for the next few days until it was time for her to go back to school, so I booked her a first-class flight back to campus. Everything eventually settled down at the crib with my parents, so I checked out of the hotel and moved back into my old room at their house. Since I've been here, me and my pops ended up reconciling about everything. You know, leaving the military and whatnot. We've also had several conversations about my current situation. I told him I wasn't sure what my next move was gonna be, you know, in regards to either going back to college for my senior year or declaring for the NFL draft. Well, one day while we was chopping it up in the backyard, he gave me some of the best advice I could ever ask for.
You know, son, I used to feel like I knew it all, but you actually taught me something very important.
Yeah, okay, here you go. What was it I taught you, Pops?
You taught me you can't live your life for other people. You've got to do what's best for you, even if it hurts the people you love.
Yeah, you absolutely right about that.
So who cares what the outsiders have to say? Let them talk. At the end of the day, this is your life to live. So you should do whatever you think is best. And whoever don't like it, fuck them. Fuck them. Fuck them up against the wall with handcuffs on. Fuck them.
After all the criticism I got for leaving the military and getting kicked off the team at LSU, I'll be honest, bro, my confidence was shot. But that motivational speech I got from my pops put me right back in the game. I reached out to a few NFL scouts just to get a gauge of how things would look if I decided to enter the draft. And honestly, I didn't like what I heard. They said my performance on the field was elite and I could potentially be a top 5 pick, but they also feel with all the recent drama surrounding my name, I would be a liability to their organization and there's no way they will want me to be the face of their franchise. I decided to return to school for another year, but this time I'll be wearing a different jersey. Maryland University is my next stop. They have a really good program, and with them being in the Big Ten Conference, I'll still have a chance to play against some pretty tough competition. Bro, look, how I see it, all I have to do is stay out of trouble for the next year. Then I feel like my draft stock will shoot right back up to where it belongs. I can't afford to have my name in the headlines for anything other than sports, so I plan on going back to living how I was when I was in the military. Nothing but school and football.